When I look back at my life, I realize that the most powerful lessons often came from the most unexpected places. For me, that lesson came from a boy I raised, a boy who wasn't even biologically mine, but who ended up shaping me in ways I never imagined possible. His name was Ethan, and his journey, and ours together, changed my life forever. I first met Ethan when he was only 6 years old. My sister, Melissa, had fallen on hard times, and though she loved her son, she wasn't in a position to care for him the way he needed. She struggled with keeping a stable job, moving from place to place, and Ethan's little life had already seen more instability than most adults could bear. I was 30 at the time, unmarried, living in a modest home in Ohio, and trying to piece together my own path. I didn't think I was ready for parenthood, but when Melissa asked if Ethan could stay with me just for a while, I said yes. That, well, turned into years, and those years turned into a bond stronger than anything I'd ever experienced. Raising Ethan wasn't easy. He was quiet at first, withdrawn, as though he wasn't sure if my house was really his home. He would pack his little backpack every night before bed, just in case he had to leave. I remember kneeling beside him one evening and saying, "You don't need to pack, buddy. This is your home now. You're safe here." He nodded, but I could see in his eyes that he didn't fully believe me. It broke my heart, but it also gave me a purpose. If I couldn't give him everything, I could at least give him consistency, love, and safety. Over time, he started to open up. He loved building things, Legos, blocks, even makeshift forts out of couch cushions. He had an imagination that went far beyond his years. At school, though, he struggled. His teachers would call me, saying Ethan had trouble focusing, that he wasn't participating, that he seemed discouraged. One evening, I found him sitting at the kitchen table, his math homework spread out, his head in his hands. He looked up at me and said, "I can't do this. I'm just not smart like the other kids." Something inside me broke at those words. I pulled up a chair and said, "Ethan, don't you ever say that again. You're one of the smartest kids I know. You just learn differently. That doesn't mean you can't do it." He sighed and pushed the pencil toward me, as if giving up. But then, almost defiantly, he muttered, "Then let me try." Those 4 words stuck with me. Then let me try. They were so simple, but they carried weight. He wasn't promising perfection. He wasn't even promising success. He was promising effort. From that night forward, I saw a shift in him. It wasn't overnight, but little by little, Ethan began to embrace challenges with that same attitude. Sports were the first place I saw it bloom. Ethan wasn't the tallest or fastest, but he loved basketball. He tried out for the local youth team, and though he barely made it, he practiced relentlessly. We spent evenings in the driveway, me rebounding while he shot free throws again and again. Each time he missed, he'd shake his head, square his shoulders, and whisper, "Then let me try again." It was like a mantra. I started using it myself. Whenever I faced something tough at work, or when bills piled up and I felt overwhelmed, I'd think of Ethan's words. They carried me too. The real test came when Ethan was in middle school. He wanted to audition for the school play, something completely out of his comfort zone. His voice would crack when he spoke in front of people, and he was shy to the point of hiding behind me at family gatherings. When I asked why he wanted to audition, he shrugged and said, "I just want to see if I can do it." I remember smiling and telling him, "Then go try." He didn't get the lead role, but he got a small speaking part. To me, it was monumental. Watching him stand on stage, his voice trembling but steady, I felt tears well up. That was the boy who used to doubt he belonged anywhere, now standing proudly in front of hundreds of people. High school brought bigger challenges. Ethan had dreams of becoming an engineer, but his grades in math and science weren't stellar. He had to work twice as hard as many of his peers. There were nights he stayed up late at the dining table, his textbooks spread out, frustration written across his face. "This is too hard," he'd say, pushing the book away. But then, after a pause, he'd add, "Then let me try one more time." Slowly, his grades improved. Not perfect, but better. Enough to show progress. Enough to show grit. There were times I doubted myself, too. Raising a child alone wasn't something I had planned, and the financial strain, the emotional weight, it all caught up to me at times. But Ethan had a way of reminding me what mattered. One day, when I was particularly stressed about money, he came to me and said, "You always tell me to try again. Don't you think you should too?" I laughed and hugged him. Somehow, this boy I was raising me too. The proudest day of my life wasn't when Ethan graduated high school, though that was incredible. It wasn't when he got accepted into a small engineering program at a state college, though I nearly burst with pride. The proudest day was when he gave a speech at his high school's senior night. He stood at the podium, looking out at hundreds of parents, teachers, and classmates, and he said, "People always think you have to be the best or the smartest to succeed. But I learned something different. You just have to be willing to try, even when it's hard, even when you feel like giving up." Those words, "Then let me try," carried me through every challenge. And they'll carry me through whatever comes next. I sat in the audience, tears streaming down my face, realizing that his simple words had not only shaped his life, but mine as well. Ethan had taught me resilience, patience, and the power of effort over perfection. He reminded me daily that it wasn't about never failing, it was about always being willing to try again. Years later, Ethan is now working as an engineer. He's building things just like he always loved to do as a child. When he calls me to tell me about his projects, his excitement radiates through the phone. He never forgot the words that defined his journey. And neither did I. Looking back, I realized that the boy I raised didn't just grow into a man. He grew into a teacher, a source of inspiration, and a reminder of what's possible when you simply decide to try. He changed my life forever, not with grand gestures or dramatic moments, but with a quiet determination and 4 simple words. Then let me try.